Alright, what's up, people? It's Terminator Juice. And I'm back for Juice Opinions. It's been a minute. Let me get my screen situated here. So, when I do the podcast, I have to have my main screen open for the Discord because that's what's captioned. But with the camera capturing, I can have all my important things on my main display so I can look at it easily and see it in the text is a little smaller because it's higher resolution. But yeah, what's up? Got a lot of things just rattling around in my brain. Figured I'd do a Juice Opinions. I meant to do it last night, but honestly, I just wanted to finish watching Squid Game on Netflix and Lock and Key. I watched the last couple episodes, so I kind of got that out of the way because I started watching some shows and I got into Vikings and then I just haven't gotten back to it in a while and I started watching Lock and Key and Squid Game eventually. I usually hate jumping on a trend, so I waited a little bit. It's a really good show. Ending was a little I wasn't a huge fan of the end, but it's a good show. But anyway, that's why I didn't do the Juice Opinions last night. So we'll see who tunes in on a Saturday afternoon. It's kind of rainy and crappy here, so I can't do the yard work I was hoping to do. But yeah, so I figured I'd touch base. One of the biggest reasons I haven't done a Juice Opinions is for the past, well, minus the last 2 weeks, there was about 3 months straight of every weekend I was doing home improvement stuff. The entrance to my house, there was some old wallpaper that looked terrible, was peeling off. That goes directly down to the stairs, and I decided to. I pulled that off. I painted. I patched the walls. I painted. Did some flooring, and in the basement I did a whole bunch of stuff. Put new flooring. Built a closet under my stairs. I mean, it's completely changed the way the room looked. And but I wasn't doing much gaming, and I definitely didn't have the energy or desire to do a Juice Opinions because any moment free I had, I was like, well, I better play some games right now because what am I going to talk about if I don't have the time to play games? And I definitely don't have the time to talk about them. So that's kind of where I'd been. It was nice for me just to have something to do consistently, and I always go into projects, not really. I mean, I don't have certain things I don't have experience in. Certain things I've done once or twice over the years. When it comes to carpentry work, or I'm doing masonry work, I'm doing flooring, I'm doing drywall, I'm doing electrical. So I kind of like when I get out of that, or when I finish, the things that I've learned, the things that I've accomplished, and I was really, really proud of what I did, and it made a huge improvement in one of the worst looking areas in my whole house. It was embarrassing to have people walk in, go down the stairs. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. GTH really, yeah. That's the first thing I'm going to talk about. Now we got a few people in here. Somehow, I didn't think this was going to happen, but Take Two, somehow they did it. They made the 3D Mario All Stars collection look good. In comparison, the GTA trilogy is just a fucking joke, and it really shows what happens when greed gets to a company. And you figure, what was it, 180 million copies of GTA 5, which they're all not full price. There's sure a ton of people bought the game when it was $20, but with the GTA Online, they're just raking in the dough. GTA 5 itself just made billions of dollars. They also do the 2K basketball series, which brings in huge money with microtransactions and all that bullshit. So the super successful, one of the most financially one of the biggest third-party publishers, and they take a beloved trilogy of games. Like, I'm not a big fan of the original. I didn't play San Andreas, but I'm not a huge fan. Um, but just because I don't like them doesn't mean I don't recognize that these are legendary status games. Tons of people love them. Um, and they did them dirty. They did the lazy thing. They didn't go through each game and not meticulous, but hand make remastered this game. They created an algorithm to like fix character models and up textures and vehicles, and it's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, use an algorithm. They barely advertise this game, so that tells you that they didn't want to show this game off. Is now thing that gets me is now developers are lazy and cash grabs, but Switch gets bad ports. It's the hardware. Well, the Switch port of this is definitely hardware. It isn't helped by the hardware, because it's the worst version by far. Can't even 20 frames per second when there's traffic, but with the most ridiculous pop in, it's just, to me, it's not even playable. The first GTA 3 anyway. But this company, just billions of dollars. Red Dead Redemption 2 did really well. They're making all this money. You have a beloved series of games. Casuals, diehard, gamers, hardcore gamers alike, beloved game with tons of people I know have just memories of GTA 3. It was a revolutionary game. And you just do it dirty with a lazy algorithm to decide NPC character models and vehicles and textures. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's not like GTA 3's a huge game or Vice City's a huge game. Yeah, 3 games total. That's probably a decent amount of work. But if you do this right and proper, this definitive trilogy, which isn't the definitive version at all, would have done huge numbers, and it might still, because unfortunately, a lot of Grand Theft Auto fans are casuals, and they don't read reviews and they don't check the news. They just see the advertisement or they see it in the store and they buy it. You have the game, it's not that bad. I'm playing GTA 3 and still having fun. I mean, you can have fun with a terrible game, or not a terrible game, but a terrible effort. What I'm talking about, so you have to say you're having fun, but instead of just saying I'm still having fun, how about, man, this is just amazing what they did to this game. Just improved upon it in every way. Quality life improvements across the board. Looks amazing, plays amazing. That's what you should be saying about a legendary title being the definitive edition. Not, I'm still having fun. Like, that's what you say when it's not what you wanted exactly, or it didn't live up to what it should be. That I'm still having fun, no offense. I'm saying a lot of people are probably going to say that. But that doesn't excuse a $60, supposedly 3 remastered versions of, like I keep saying, legendary status games, and you do this little bit of effort. And on Switch, it's like 20 frames per second with traffic. The pop-in is, I'd be curious how it looks compared to the PS2 original. It's atrocious. PS5 it's just the PS4 version. It looks okay overall, but it can't hit 60 frames per second, so that's just completely unoptimized. That has nothing to do with the hardware. Where when a PS4 game can't hit 60 on PS5 when it's a PS2 game, like, it's just the fact that they put in the little effort and probably didn't pay whoever they got to do it, probably didn't give them much money to do it with. And you're talking about this company with billions. You're telling me if they didn't do this right, that this wouldn't have been a huge success, like like 30, 40 million units sold, like huge success if they did it right. There's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it on any platform. And I'm sorry you bought it, Laker Link. Whether you're still having fun with it or not, all you're doing is telling them it's okay. It's okay to put out an unoptimized trilogy of PS2 games on a ninth gen console and have it run like poop. That's what you're saying. I'm sorry. You know, I'm not trying to shame your decision to buy the game, but I'm just kind of telling you what you're telling the Take Two by buying it. If 10 million people buy this game, what does that tell them? That tells them, oh shit, let's just do the least amount of effort. Let's put it out. Same team that made the crappy mobile ports gets second chance to screw it up again. Yeah, like all we're doing is, if this does well, let's just tell them that's okay. That's the okay thing to do. When you have Activision making Nintendo and now Rockstar and 2K look bad, just look at the Crash Insane trilogy, Crash Team Racing, Spiral trilogy compared to the GTA Definitive Edition and 3D All Stars. Like, it's not even close. I mean, one, those are complete visual overhauls, stayed true to the original, kept the original base game, overhauled the visuals. 3 games completely remade visually for $40 without major issues, without technical issues, without performance issues, without terrible looking character models and all that. Come on. Activision of all companies showing up Nintendo and Rockstar. That makes it even more sad when you think of it like that. It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. Hey, you enjoy it, whatever. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just telling you what I said to a lot of Nintendo fans back when Nintendo started releasing all these ports. You keep supporting it. People keep supporting these games and defending them. They're just going to keep doing it. And, we're 5 years into the Switch and there's still ports. I don't know about any plan for 2022. I wouldn't be surprised. But full-priced ports, full-priced trilogies. Now we've had, the Switch has gotten some trilogies from 7th gen games. Like BioShock and Borderlands. Those ran better. Why are PS2 games running poorly? Like, I'm sorry. There's no excuse for it. There's no defense for it. And I just wish no one would buy it. And so some of these companies would learn, like, you think CG Projekt Red's going to put out another buggy ass game, The Witcher 4? You think they're going to put out The Witcher 4 as a buggy mess that doesn't run on platforms it says it's supposed to run on? They're not going to do that again. It sucks Cyberpunk did sell well, so that doesn't always mean that they don't get the message. But the Cyberpunk was like, they were being called out by everybody. Lawsuits were getting made. There was the investors. Everybody was all over that. So even though it sold well, I'd be shocked if they tried that shit again. So anyway, I'm not a GTA fan. Take that, take what I'm saying with the knowledge that I'm biased against GTA and Rockstar. I've never been really a big fan. GTA 4 is my favorite of the series, funny enough. And, GTA 5 was okay. But anyway, so there's that. Metroid Dread, apparently there's some sales. I think it was just North America only. The first 3 weeks was like 700 and some thousand. I don't have all the numbers. I don't know if that's physical only, North America only. So I'm guessing that means it's probably over 1 million, but Japan doesn't really buy Metroid games. So, I mean, it might still have done under 1 million in 3 weeks. But I would like to think, I was hoping with pre-order, all the buzz around the pre-orders, that this would have been a 2 million seller first week or something, or a million first week. So the first 3 weeks at under 800,000 just in North America. It's not going to do, maybe not do as good as I thought. It was going to be like 5 plus, so I'm not sure. Yeah, so Cyberpunk did, they lost a lot of money, even though it did sell well, the investors and everybody. But anyway, so Metroid didn't do quite as good as I thought it was going to do in its first week, but still, I'm guessing it's probably over a million sold by now. I would like to think with the holidays and stuff that that could continue to sell. But as we said many times on the podcast, Nintendo just seems to, as greedy as they seem to be, they seem to miss out on golden opportunities. Metroid Collection for Switch, to build upon Dread, would have been great, and a Metroid theme Nintendo Switch with we got the Switch Lite, Pokemon ones everybody's raving about, but a Metroid theme dock with like a golden red Joy Cons or something, for 350, or make the OLED. Do a digital copy of Dread. You buy the OLED, $379.99 or something, $380 or something like that. Really be aggressive with pushing Dread. I mean, they've been aggressive with the marketing. It'd have been nice if they went a step further and had maybe an exclusive console or the dock or something. But I hope that people continue to buy that game, and I'd love it if people were buying that in a bundle instead of Mario Kart 8 bundle still after all these years. But I've said my piece on that. I'm not going to bring it up again, but I have been taking my time with Dread. I wanted to finish up a couple other games. I beat Returnal. I beat Kana. I still want to go collect a few more. I'm missing a few things to 100% it. And then, but I'm about 9 hours in Dread now. I got the gravity suit, and yeah, that game is just really good. I got stuck for a little bit. It's the first time, about 7 hours in, I was just really stuck. It was the first time I felt like I had to look at the map and try to figure out where to go, which is normal for those types of games, but this game had such a nice way to just subtly and not so subtle direct you where to go that I was a little bit confused. Like, oh, okay, well, we're not doing that anymore. Gives you the sonar pulse, and then it sends you on your way. All right, figure out where to go next. And that's one of the most rewarding aspects of the Metroidvania genre, in my opinion. So, figuring out where to go, just looking at the map, say, all right, there's this map kind of stopped there in that water section. Let me just go bottom left. I forget the name. I don't know, start with the B, and then find the gravity suit, and I'm just moving along now, and it's just super rewarding doing the shine spark stuff. And I had to look up because I didn't know you could bounce off the wall and keep your momentum. So I don't like the Mercury Steam aesthetic. Sadly, I can see Nintendo just keep giving them IPs. Sadly, what do you mean? What's so sad about it? They made one of the best, if not the best 2D Metroid game. Yeah, I don't love, like I said, and I know the guy clocked it, and Retro and them kind of got mad, or not mad, but they kind of challenged me. If it was a 3D game, I don't like the character models for the environments or the enemy designs in the 3D cinematics. I love how Samus looks. Samus looks amazing, but there's that shiny plastic looking chunky design. It's fine in the 2D though. The zoomed out 2D looks absolutely amazing, but as far as some of the 3D stuff, I don't love the art style 100%. It's really good. I just don't. It's not up there in the upper echelon. But I say give them any fucking game now. I would give them the keys to anything but Zelda and Mario, pretty much. They've proven themselves. I'd give them Donkey Kong Country. I'd give them Yoshi for sure. Let's get Yoshi back on track. Kirby, I'd be happy with them having any of those franchises after these two games. So Speaking of Kana, which I mentioned, I beat that. That art style is so freaking good. I'm playing it, and on Twitter I posted. Oops, forgot to open a new window first. So I posted, Kana is love, Kana is life, and Collected pointed out something I agree. She looks a bit like Jade from Beyond Good and Evil, but I would absolutely love a new Tomb Raider game. I gotta turn night mode on in this fucking on Twitter. Where do I do that? Display. Lights out. There we go. So she looks a little like Jade. I'd be happy with any type of adventure game in that art style. But I'm thinking now, I really would like the new Tomb Raider. The next Tomb Raider. Why can't I find my fucking tweets? There we go. The next Tomb Raider, I would be 100% on board if the next Tomb Raider looked just like this fucking... Let me share my screen here. Let's see. I don't know how to. I didn't set anything up to do that with. Let's see, podcast screen cap. All right, let me just drag this over. All right, so you can see that, yeah. So these are just some of the in-game shots I took. Yeah, it's definitely animation. You know, it's like a Kung Fu Panda or Raya the Last Dragon. You know, I would absolutely love Lara Croft. This could be Lara Croft. Just give her an English accent, and I'd be on board. Like, let me find some other groups of pictures I took. Ones that have a little more of like the environment. I mean, it's just like when you're in the caves and stuff. I mean, I could see exploring tombs. Can't seem to find any with like some greenery. Like this here. This environment, I had it kind of blurred out. Like, I would be completely happy with like a animation style Tomb Raider game. And I think they have to do something different because the formula, as much as I enjoyed the three new games, the formula was ran its course by the I would say by the last game, which I liked, but it kind of, the formula I felt at that point kind of ran its course. So this is really low quality on Twitter, but imagine exploring tombs, you know, giving like Lara Croft's like original moveset, their acrobatics, climbing, with just like this art style, this aesthetic. I mean, it'd be awesome, I think. You know, I know there'd be some outcry, people wouldn't like it, going from realistic. Realistic visuals, but anyway, that's my take. Like I said, I would absolutely love a yeah, the gameplay starts off basic. You get some better moves, and the combat really really gets good if you like a challenge. Biggest complaint is just a bit of unpolishedness when it comes to the transitions from animations and interactivity with the environment. Those are the two. If they just had smoother transitions for animations, if you're running and you jump, you stop running when you land. You know, little things that if they do another game, I'll give them a pass on the first game, but I want to see some more depth put into, exploration, combat, movement, just the movement in general. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. The further I got, the better the game got for me. It's I mean, it's a game of the year contender for me now that I've played the whole game. So, uh, it turned out pretty good. I'm happy with it. I can cut them some slack being their first game. Um, but either way, I was talking about the aesthetic, the art style. I would absolutely love the next Tomb Raider game to be more like that. Not Fortnite, not take it serious. Still have a serious tone because Kana has a very serious tone. Um, Still have puzzle solving, exploration. It can still be rated M. I mean, it doesn't have to be T for teen or anything. It just focus on the exploration, the movements, mobility of Lara Croft. Improve, redo the shooting because that was the weakest part. Um, the bow and arrow stuff was good, but I just really would love to see them go that direction instead of trying to make the most realistic looking game. And you don't need to be an Uncharted clone anymore. Like, just get away from that. The cinematics, the basically quick time event cinematics where you just have to jump and you fail, you start right back. Where that moment started where stuff's crumbling and you have to jump. Get rid of all that. I mean, Uncharted can keep that stuff. That's my least favorite thing about Uncharted, and my least favorite thing about Tomb Raider. There's a couple that are really, really cool. Mostly just visually cool, though. And if you're running and jumping, you don't really have time to take it all in. But either way, I would just love for them to do something different and do like I said, something like Kana's art style, or even like that canceled or not the Rare game that they started over, I guess, Everwild, something, just something with a unique look to it. That's what focus on animation, mobility, movement, exploring the tombs, and just figure out a way to make the shooting and stuff actually work within the game and not be such a it just feels like in the original trilogy, the new Tomb Raider trilogy, that was the shooting was just like, whatever, it's there, it works, but it's not like a high point. Whereas like a game like Returnal, it's the best third person shooter I've ever played. Like, the shooting mechanics in it are amazing, so it can be done, and I would love to see it. Let's see what else. Forza Horizon 5, I haven't got a chance yet to play that. Can't wait. It looks really good. I just got a few things I want to play first, and I'm kind of waiting closer to Halo Infinite's release. So if I get a month of Game Pass, I can play Forza Horizon. I can check out Halo Infinite all for 1 month. If I had the Series X, I would have bought Forza Horizon 5 day one. But playing on PC, I'm kind of thinking I might move my PC upstairs for like a month and try to figure out doing the podcast. I'll have to see, but I do want to experience that at 60 FPS and my Xbox One S. I keep thinking I'm going to list it on Facebook Marketplace and see if I can get $200-$300, $250 to $300 for it, with 2 controllers and 2 rechargeable battery packs. I just keep putting it off. I haven't turned the system on in months. So I want to play Forza Horizon at 60 FPS with as good a visuals as I can get and keep it at 60. That's kind of my plan. But like I mentioned during the podcast, I made some posts about, calling out fanboys. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of Sony fanboys trying to dismiss Forza Horizon 5 getting a 91 Metacritic. I don't know if it's settled at that, but it was at that after like 70 reviews. Oh, it's just a racing game, or blah, blah, or it's just Microsoft paid the review. It's just stupid stuff, right? Well, I can't say the Xbox fan base is any better when Deathloop was reviewing really high, I think in the high 80s, I think it was at 90 at one point. You know, trying to shit talk it, or I know Returnal's like maybe mid 80s. I've seen some people trying to shit talk that, or um, or in the Will of the Wisp. Well, it's just a kiddie game, like stupid stuff like that. And it's just like, I was telling my buddy this today because he's just a casual gamer. He doesn't know anything about this bullshit with fanboys and stuff. He just, if he sees a game that looks fun, he plays it. He don't give a shit what system it's on. Like, that's how I feel now. I wasn't always that way. If Halo Infinite comes out and gets a 98 Metacritic, think I'm going to be mad at that because I have a PS5 or I'm disappointed? I'm going to be like, holy shit, finally they made, what, since 4, 5, and now, Infinite, they made a fucking great Halo game again. Like, it'd be their first time, 343. I don't think, honestly, the first one's the only one I enjoyed at all. But if Infinite comes out, gets a fucking 98 or 95 Metacritic, like, I'm gonna be just happy as hell because I want to play great games. And I just can't even fathom getting mad or being angry or wanting to ignore Visor Grunt. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, if you're probably joking, I'm not a GTA fan, so obviously. I see people trying to point to Skyward Sword HD, but it still doesn't get a pass. What do you mean? Sony's marketing for Gran Turismo has been pretty bad. A lot of pointless video journals, very little gameplay. I haven't seen any of that. But anyway, what I'm talking about is games getting high scores. If you don't have the system, it sucks. If, like, let's say you don't have Xbox Series X and you don't have a decent PC, yeah, it's going to suck that you can't play Forza Horizon 5 if you want to. But don't be mad about it. Like, that's just petty. That's just silly. Like, don't dismiss it, or don't, people trying to find faults in games getting high scores because it's on the system they don't own. It's just stupid. Like, do I think Halo Infinite's going to score 98? Hell no. It's going to be, I'm going to guess, low 80, 84, 83, 84, probably, for the single player. Who knows about the multiplayer? But if it got, like, because I'm sorry, if something gets a 98 Metacritic, it's not a bad game. It's not a shit game. It's not maybe your cup of tea, but a 98 Metacritic, I don't think we've seen anything that high in a long time. That's Breath of the Wild's at like 97. Doesn't mean you're gonna love it, but there's no way you can look at that and say, yeah, that's a bad game. That shouldn't have got a 98, 97. No. I've never seen a game get that high of a score be a bad game, like a badly made game, a trash game, anything. So I believe enough in Metacritic. I don't go by it. It's not like the end all be all, because Control and Immortals didn't score that great, and I love those games. But if something is beloved by that many people, if 100 reviewers all said this game's a 98 to 100, some might say it's a 95, and it's an average. Somebody might give it an 8 or 9, but that many people say something's great, it is. I'm sorry. I can't. Somebody can give me an example of something getting that high of a score and just being bad. I don't. Cat, what are you doing? Get the fuck off here, Jesus. Sorry, she like stepped on my USB drive and then kicked it. I don't know where it went, but either way, you know what I'm saying? Like, it might not be your cup of tea, but when that many people give something that high of a score, there's something to that. That's not a fluke. That's not anything other than it's a really good game. Like I said, I don't love the GTA series, but I'm in the minority. Even people who or diehard Nintendo fans still have fond memories of playing GTA games. Like, it's a beloved franchise. It's well received. Yeah, it's not the perfect game gameplay wise, but I'm not going to sit here and say GTA 5 is a bad game just because I don't like it. And that's a whole other discussion I got in with Robert. He doesn't believe that you can like something without it thinking it's great, or not like something without thinking it's bad. I can see something's that it's good, well made, I should say, well made, um, great music, all that, but it might not appeal to me. I don't like, turn-based JRPGs. Just because I don't like that doesn't mean I don't think they're good games. I know that's hard for some people to understand. Cyberpunk got a 9. I mean, Cyberpunk on PC, everybody who plays it on PS5, Series X, or PC, it's a really good game. Just, not quite as good as it should have been as far as some of the NPCs and stuff, but the core game with the side quests, everybody seems to, unless you have it on a 8th gen system, most people say Cyberpunk's a good game. It had some bugs on all platforms, but either way, my point is I can not like something but still realize or still acknowledge and see that it's good. It's just not something I like. Like Octopath Traveler. I thought the demo was okay, and people love that game because it's not my cup of tea. I'm not going to say it's a bad game. So same thing for good games. Something I could see, I can like something and like, you know what? I know this isn't the best, but I like it. Like, gaming, not as much, but movies all the time. All the time that happens. Like the last King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. I love that movie. Now, do I think it's an amazing movie? No. I like the way the story's told. I like the dialogue. Guy Ritchie's style. I really like that. But I can acknowledge that that's not like a movie everybody's gonna love. Like it's not to most people's tastes. It's kind of done in a weird way, being that it's supposed to be like set in the older times, like medieval times. It's a weird mix. It works for me, but I'm not gonna sit to say, oh, it's a great movie because I like it. No, it's a okay movie. I would say it's competent, but it's not. I'm not gonna say, oh my god, I like it, so that means I think it's amazing. No, I like it because it just happens to have a mishmash of things, and it worked for me. But overall, I could see that it's not gonna be the greatest movie for most people. Yeah, I didn't play Octopath. No, but my point is I can like something and acknowledge that it's not the best, and I can not like something and acknowledge that it is like really good. I just don't happen to like it. So, it's just one of those things. I think I didn't mean, I wasn't speaking to one individual person, but I think in general, it's kind of a childish mindset to say, I don't like equals bad. I like it, so it's good. Like, that's just I like to go beyond that and try to, I am at times very selfish in my life because I just have myself to take care of and no one else is gonna do it for me. So, like, in the past, I know a guy got mad at me because I was hanging out with him and his wife because their friend was a girl I was interested in, and I didn't have any other way to like contact her. So I hung out with them for a while and got to know her and started dating her. And he was really mad at me for only hanging out with them to try to, talk to this girl. And I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, we weren't ever best friends or nothing. I needed a way to talk to this girl, like, if you want to call that selfish, I guess I'm selfish, but, didn't really like the guy that much, but, so in the past, I have moments like that where I'm just like, I gotta look out for me because no one else will. No one else is gonna look out for me. I'm an adult, so I got to watch out for myself. But anyway, the point is, I even being that, I try not to look at games and movies and entertainment in a selfish way. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Like if chatting with random people in Splatoon, chatting with randoms means nothing to me. I never want to chat with randoms again in my life. So when people were mad about that, I was like, well, I'm sorry. I can't be mad for you. It just doesn't affect me, so I'm not mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see why that's a problem for people who like to do that and make friends and stuff that way and just don't mind chatting with random people. I can see why you're upset, but I'm not, because I would never use that feature anyway. So that's kind of a selfish way to look at that. But like when let's say, Immortals, I love that game. I would give that game personal score mid 90s probably. I haven't really sat down and thought about it, but I would tell people, you might not like it. Like I can see beyond my own love for the game that you might not like this aspect of the game, or this aspect of the game you're probably going to be bored with, or if you don't like to do extra stuff in the open world, you're going to miss out on some really cool stuff. Like I told Robert, if you don't go on a bunch of vaults, you're going to miss some really great puzzles, some really fun, like dungeon-esque or shrine-esque vaults. You're going to miss out. But if you just want to play through a game and enjoy the story and just kind of push through, you're not going to love it like I did. Like I can see that, yeah, Immortals I feel is underrated at like a 7.7 or something. But, I'm not playing that game. I did not expect it to be a 9. I thought it was probably going to be a 8, low 8, and it was like 7.7 or 77. So I was thinking it was going to be a little higher, but at the same time, I'm not sitting there in the fantasy world, because I love the game, thinking that everybody who plays it's going to love it and enjoy it. Like I can see it's got some faults. It's got some mechanics that maybe aren't going to be as enjoyable. Let's see. You should be selfish when it comes to games. That's the point. Pleasing somebody else's opinion or whatever. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the games I buy, I'm selfish. But when it comes to looking at the game, I'm going to sit there and say, damn, you guys just got to play this because you're going to love it because I love it. No. I will say I kept chirping on the Juices Loose guys. Immortals, this game's pretty damn good, you guys. Trust me, this game's good. Just the game didn't really sell as well, and it didn't score as high as I thought. I tried to encourage people to play it. Same with Control. Now, Retrodeath and Clocked It didn't love Control. Like, I clocked it, thought of it exactly what I thought he would. I said, played the game. I said, it's probably a 7 out of 10 for you. And he played it, said, 7 out of 10. Like, I just kind of knew some of his tastes and stuff. I kind of knew maybe it would hit a little lower. Retro, I thought, would like it more, but like I said to him, like, you either were fully invested in the oldest house, in the surrounding, the environment. If you were fully invested in that whole concept and you were sucked into it, then the game is amazing. If you're just like, I don't know, it don't really mean that much to me, then yeah, the game's not gonna hold up in the long run. All right, so now it's time to talk about my 2 favorite console generations of all time. And Robert Rule 2 posted that the 6th gen he thought was the pinnacle of gaming, and we've been downhill since. I couldn't disagree more. I think 6th gen was a low point, and we've been going up since 7th and 8th gen, I think, have been amazing. And just for me, I'm just stating, without a doubt, the 7th and 8th gen are the 2 best console generations, in my opinion. Just really hit 7th gen, just really hit its stride. Gaming hit its stride, in my opinion, tons of great games. It was still a time where you're getting like a real generational leap in technology. So you're going from, GameCube games look great, Xbox games look great and stuff. But when you started getting like Gears of War and Assassin's Creed and Bioshocks, it was a combination of going to HD, seeing things we had never been, to the fidelity we'd never seen, plus just a ton of games because they were such a successful generation. So we got a ton of games. The Wii, just a huge seller, just tons of games. 360, PS3 both did 80 plus million. Just a shit ton of games and a lot of great games. Now, 7th gen had more games, but if I had to pick between the two, I would pick the 8th gen because the Wii U and Nintendo did way better. In my opinion, the Wii U and those exclusive games trumped the Wii and its exclusive games. And then the PS4 versus the 360, I give this, pretty even overall. So the fact that the Wii U I liked more than the Wii, and the games were, so let's just go back to the 7th gen though. So you got the Wii just killing it. Starts off with Twilight Princess, Wii Sports. You get Galaxy 1 and 2, Prime 3, the Prime Trilogy. Donkey Kong Country comes back with Returns. I didn't love Kirby's Epic Yarn, but, people really enjoyed that game. Wii Sports Resort. There's just Nintendo, as far as their first parties, they had some amazing games. Now, maybe not as many as they should have. They didn't bring back F-Zero or Wave Race, just like with the Switch. We're still waiting on some of these games. They probably missed out. The Metroid Other M was kind of a, whether you like it or no, it wasn't that well received. It feels like that was 7th gen. They were developers allowed to follow their passion. Yeah, because games were getting more expensive, but they were still able to do a reasonable budgeted games. Call of Duty took off in the 7th gen, and I got sucked in, and it reminded me of the GoldenEye days, like the first few Call of Duties. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2. That captured that split screen GoldenEye feeling, but took it to the next level. Just absolutely got sucked into that, playing competitive online. It was a great time. Plus, Dead Space, probably one of my, if I had to really think, I don't know where it would land. It's, as far as non-Nintendo that's top 3, I think. Dead Space. Gears of War 2 I thought was really good. You had, I like Dead or Alive 4. You had Grid Racing, Forza Horizon 1 and 2. Some really just solid games. Xbox was just killing it. Bioshock, Bioshock Infinite at the end of the generation. The Tomb Raider reboot come out. Last of Us, 7th gen. Sony really didn't do it for me in the 7th gen. If Sony had delivered in the 7th gen, it would easily top the 8th gen though, because we haven't had a generation with Xbox and PlayStation first party just like completely killing it for me. PS3 was, I know people love Uncharted 2 is, it's good, but it's really gameplay wise it's pretty weak on the shooting mechanics and all that. But a lot of people love the Uncharted games. You had MotorStorm I really liked, but Sony they were pushing some like Resistance games, they were pushing the Killzone games, and they really weren't that great in my opinion. I didn't think the Ratchet and Clanks were anything special either. So for me, Sony that was an off generation for them. They came back strong with the PS4 though, but Xbox was killing it with first party, with third party exclusives, the best versions of all these games. Bayonetta, I didn't play that back then. The Mass Effect trilogy, beloved game. I didn't play them, but beloved games. Just amazing generation. I think, like I said, Nintendo didn't quite kill it by the time Skyward Sword came out. You know, they kind of floundered the last few years of the generation, but just solid. Like between the Wii and the 360, both had over 20 physical copies, physical games. Had a ton of digital games on the Wii, not so much on the 360. Had a few. Just had a ton of games for both systems. I only had like 6 or 7 on PS3, but really good generation. I mean, easily top. I mean, just completely destroyed the 6th gen for me personally. The 6th gen for me, I mean, the Dreamcast was great. Don't get me wrong. GameCube was just Metroid Prime, Resident Evil 4, Metroid Prime 2, and a distant third. You know, like Sunshine, yeah, you know, high 8s out of 10. You know, Wind Waker, I probably gave that low 8 at the time. I liked the HD version. I love the HD version. I didn't love Wind Waker. I didn't, you know, Eternal Darkness was fine. I think Twin Snakes was probably my top 5 GameCube games. Like, that tells you a lot. Smash Melee, I never played with anybody, so I just played it single player. It wasn't just the games. It was just where I was at. I was out going to the bars, hanging out with friends, you know, trying to meet a lady friend, you know, hanging out with couples, trying just my damnedest for years. And I just realized, you know, I don't really like sitting in bars and hanging out. Like, I'd rather be at home watching movies or playing games. You know, I kind of found myself again with the 7th gen, and so yeah, that definitely for me far superior than the 6th gen, because, you know, I'm not an RPG fan. I know there's a ton of great RPGs and stuff, GameCube, but just didn't do it for me. It's just the timing of it and the games themselves. Honestly, going back to them, I don't really feel like I missed anything personally. But so then we get into the 8th gen, and the Wii U comes out. You know, we know it's a huge failure, but Nintendo for me just killed it. You know, easily the best Yoshi game. The best Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, comes out at the end. One of, if not the best 3D Mario game for me. The best Mario Kart game. Still, because they haven't made a new one since. You know, Bayonetta 2. Best action game I ever played. You know, Breath of the Wild's the best open world, best adventure game, best Nintendo game, you know. I wish I had my list in front of me. Best Donkey Kong, Tropical Freeze, best Donkey Kong game by far, I think. You know, then some really good, not the best of all time, but some really good like 2D Mario games with Super Luigi U and New Super Mario Bros. U. I really enjoyed Rainbow Curse as a spin-off Kirby game. You know, Hyrule Warriors, Mario Maker, you know, just some amazing content. And that's just Nintendo, you know, third parties. You know, we had some good indie games though. You know, it was a good system. Still my favorite Nintendo system. And then going to the 8th gen with Sony and Microsoft. Yeah, it started off first 2 years not as good, but man, has it ended strong. Honestly, you know, Doom 2016, probably one of, if not, it's right there with Metroid Prime as my favorite first-person game. You know, like, Eternal's good, but Doom 2016 is a special place in my heart. You know, like, we went over this on the podcast, but I was kind of keeping my feelings that this 8th gen's my favorite of all time. I didn't really want to get into a debate. You know, Rocket League, like, my most played game with like 1,200 hours. You know, I've kind of slowed it down on my playing it. Just amazing, you know. Forza Horizon 4, best racing game I've ever played. It's my favorite racing game of all time. 8th gen. Forza Horizon 5 might be even better. Still technically an 8th gen game, being a cross-gen title. It's almost, I think, two of Sony's best first-party games ever, with Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2. Also, the best Uncharted game with Lost Legacy and 4, you know, the best Uncharted games. There's just been, I wish I could think to name them all, you know, the Tomb Raider games. The Rise of the Tomb Raider to me is the best Tomb Raider game. I hate, you know, Clock that's going to hate hearing it, but I really enjoyed that game. There's just so many. There was, and again, Wii U. I owned. Well, I have bought a lot of digital, but I still own 20 something physical games, plus like 40 digital. Couple with some of those being like 10 of those being like major games. Tons of indie games, tons of virtual console. Just heavily supported. PS4. I have 23 physical PS4 games and a bunch of digital games. Like for me, that's a big number. I know T laughs at me. That if I hit 20, period, that's a successful generation for me. Um, but getting back to the Ori, both Ori games, phenomenal. There's just been so many great games. And my favorite Nintendo console kind of pushes it just slightly over the 7th gen for me yet. I know there wasn't as many. There's studios closed and stuff. And I was going to do this anyway, so clocked it, you're watching this. I know that some people it might hurt your soul hearing me talk so highly of, 7th and 8th gen. I know that a lot of bad stuff happened too. 8th gen's the worst generation for getting old games, brought to the next system, whether it's full price or not. The Switch is 9th gen console, but it's continuing that trend. I know it hasn't been all rainbows and sunshine. There's been some bad things, but honestly, I just think I'm looking at the games I love, the games that I've liked. There's been more in the 8th gen than any other gen. I love the Super NES generation, but I love the Super NES. I didn't love the Genesis. I didn't play anything outside the Super Nintendo. N64, I played the N64. I played the PS2 a few times. Like, I didn't play the other systems, which there weren't that many. I didn't play the Saturn. So it's hard for me to look at those generations and put them above ones where I have multiple systems I supported and loved games on. So I'm not saying that those were bad generations by any means. And, just because I missed out on the Saturn and the PS1 doesn't mean that I'm saying they were bad. I just didn't, I played N64. I rented most games that were, worth renting, and I bought the ones I wanted. Like I had like a dozen games maybe. I sold a bunch of them. Let's see, I had Mario 64. These are just the ones I bought for sure. GoldenEye, Star Fox 64, Ocarina of Time, Perfect Dark, Shadow Man, Wipeout, Excite Bike, San Francisco Rush, Rush 2 Extreme Racing. That's 10. Later on, I bought Majora's Mask, but years later. It was like 2005 or something. What else did I have? I didn't buy a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. I rented almost everything else. I know I'm forgetting. I never owned Wave Race. I never owned Mario Kart 64. Never played Smash 64. Never owned it, obviously. I missed out. Banjo-Kazooies, none of those. I got no notification. Yeah, I was just running down my pathetic N64 collection. I sold Rush 2. I traded in San Francisco Rush for Rush 2 Extreme Racing. I sold that. I gave my cousin or my nephew Excite Bike, and 1080 was the one I was forgetting. 1080 snowboarding. So I only have like 9 left, 8 or 9 N64 games left. I ended up with Turok. I never bought it, but somehow I ended up with that. But yeah, just because I didn't experience the Saturn and the PS1, I can't hold that generation up above a generation where I had 3 systems that we got great games from, and that's just kind of how I'm looking at it. And it just continued. Like the 8th gen I know, there hasn't been as many games total, but it just feels like this has been my generation. The few games we've gotten, it's like they're all, most of them are like appealing to me. Like, I know, Clock, that you're here now, so I'm gonna break your heart. I didn't I didn't love old Sony. I hated Sony. PS3, even though I own the system, is my least favorite system. I just didn't like really what Sony brought to the table. As a non RPG fan, I felt like a lot of their games were just cheap copy of Nintendo. Back when they had platformers, when they had all these different style of games, it just didn't. It just felt like lesser versions of Nintendo games, and I didn't like that Sony. I like the PS4 and now PS5 Sony. This is the Sony for me. You had your Sony for 2, 3 consoles. Now I've had them for 2 or 1.2. One and a year into another. Like, they're making games now that appeal to me, whether it's their first party or whether it's just exclusives or a third party game. Like, I wasn't sad when PlayStation, the Japanese studio, got shut down, because the list of games they had made, I'm just like, don't really. I mean, Gravity Rush 2 is great. Shadow of the Colossus, great. But most everything else, I either didn't play or just didn't do much for me, So I'm sorry, but it didn't have any impact on me in a negative way, because they didn't make games that really appealed to me. So, and as much as I love Shadow of the Colossus, that studio, that producer director, he fucked up. He couldn't make a follow up. I mean, you might, some people might think Sony maybe they held him back. To me, he just got too ambitious. The Last Guardian was not going to be playable on PS3. And whose fault is it? My guess, just like with God, I forget his name, the guy who did Fable. Ambitions exceeded his talents and what was possible. And I feel like The Last Guardian, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like Sony gave him plenty of chances to get that game out, and then eventually, yeah, we'll try to see if you can get crowdfunded, and then they ended up just taking over. And what we got a pretty, average game that had lots of issues. Like, yeah, they probably should have got another opportunity, but if you can't make a game in 10 years, something wrong. I'm sorry. Yeah, fair trade. So, like, as much as it sucks that The Last Guardian wasn't the Shadow of the Colossus follow up, that I wanted, it does suck that happened, and I feel bad that they couldn't deliver a follow up to an amazing game like that. But I don't blame just Sony for that. Like, to me, something had to have happened. Peter Molyneux, yeah, that dude made some fucking ridiculous promises for Fable. That game was going to do things that games can't do today. Like, he talked the talk, put out a game people liked, but it didn't do much. If barely did any of the things he promised, and then the series kind of went in the wrong direction. And it almost feels like M. Night Shyamalan. The guy was kind of a one-hit wonder. They put him in charge, and things weren't exactly going well at Microsoft. He was the head of the game studio or whatever. I really feel like it, because where I work, when I have these opinions, I don't specify. I have a lot of first-hand experience with similar situations. Well, what I think are similar, because I can look at something that happens where I work, in the corporate bullshit that goes on, and then I see something like a Peter Molyneux, hear about him getting fired, but I watched a video about his rise and fall and stuff, and I'm like, man, that sounds a lot like this dude I work with, who's He talked a good talk in the beginning. He did some good things, and then he just got skated by for years on just bullshit. Just feeding the guys, the managers, the executives above him bullshit until they finally figured it out and fired him. Like, so maybe that's not what happened. I'm kind of injecting personal experiences into these things and kind of feeling like maybe that's what happened. Uh, so I could be completely off on that. He could have been awesome and just completely handcuffed by Microsoft. I don't know. Um, M. Night had at least 2 good movies. I mean, I like Signs. What's up, Subliminal Lime? Wisdom's Prince. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say M. Night only had one good movie. He had one breakout movie. Unbreakable, speaking of breakout, well received. People love that movie. It's, I like it, but I watched it in the theater. I might have rented it one time since then. I haven't seen it since, Signs, I think I've only watched Signs once, maybe twice. The Village was okay, but, he ruined my favorite IP with The Last Airbender. But either way, that was the point I was trying to make. So, just getting back to what I was saying, like, yeah, I know it sucks that some of these studios have closed, but at the same time, I feel like they wouldn't have closed if they were just really could keep making good games. They wouldn't have closed. Like, eventually, if Insomniac just starts making shit games, I think Sony's gonna be done with them. Like, if everything's sweet and peachy clean, whatever the phrase is. Trying to think of the expression. Right now, everything's great, but if they put out a couple stinkers and people start leaving, that studio could, in 10 years, could be done, To me, they need to get the gameplay figured out. They need to let Housemarque come in and work with them on actual gameplay, because Ratchet and Clank played more like Returnal. Not just like it, not super difficult, but just have very precise aiming, very smooth character movement, and very chaotic yet fair combat. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart could easily be a game of the year for me. I haven't played it yet, but if they had Housemarque come in and say, all right, you guys handle the shooting and the gameplay, the level design or something, let Insomniac do the cinematics and the graphics. I would be so excited for the next Ratchet and Clank game or Spider-Man game, if that was announced. So I really don't have any. It's kind of random thought here. I don't really have any like extreme loyalty to any developer. I just want a good game. Like Ben Studios, they had a shot. They got. I don't care what anybody. Sony kept giving them more money for Days Gone. They kept delaying it, expanding it. Listen to the voice actor. I can't think of his name. Played Deacon. He was in a show I watched. Shit, I can't think. Sam. Forget his last name, but either way, I listened to him talk about Days Gone. He's like, man, we came in and it was this pretty small story, and then we're gonna expand. I kept coming in, doing more, and then they kept getting more and more money to expand the game, and it feels like they just kept expanding the game because it doesn't really feel like that was the whole game world isn't really seamless. They lack parts of the world to story stuff where you get locked into one section for hours before you can go back, so yeah, maybe you should have gave him a second chance, but not at a Days Gone 2. Give him a second chance at something else, because they had their chance and they kind of blew it. As much as Retro Death loved it, I enjoyed the game for what it was. I had fun with it, but yeah, it could have been so much better. Could have been tightened up, get rid of the bugs, streamline the way the missions worked in the open world, make it more seamless. make it so you didn't have these invisible walls everywhere and you didn't block off sections of the map. There's so many things that could have elevated that game. So yeah, don't give them Days Gone 2. Give them something else to kind of try to get their feet back under them. Give them a smaller game. Give them I'm trying to think, like something like Kana, a smaller game that's not, big grand open world cinematic with all this voice acting, motion capture, all that. Just give them something a little smaller. Let them work their way back up. But Mercury Steam, on the other hand, they've proven themselves. Give them more. Like for those of you that are joining now in the beginning, I said, give them Donkey Kong Country. Give them Yoshi, for Christ's sakes. Let them make a damn Yoshi game. Give them Kirby. Give them a 2D Kirby. I would rather see them make a 2D Kirby than whoever's been making the 2D Kirby, if it's Hell or whoever. I don't ever want to see them make another one. Again, I have no loyalty to any of these studios. Let them make something else. Give Mercury Steam, let them make a fucking Kirby game, and let's see what they can do. I'd love it if Rare would make a Yoshi game, or the 3D Mario team. If that Donkey Kong rumor would have been true, let them make a Donkey Kong game. Let the Retro Studios make a fucking 2D Yoshi game. That's the kind of stuff. Like I'm saying, I don't really have the loyalty. Like, oh, this is Hell should make Kirby, and Good Smile needs to make Yoshi games. No. 3D Mario team needs to make 3D Mario games. Of course, I don't see anybody else making a 3D Mario game. The Mario Kart team, expand the team, but you don't need to give that to like Retro Studios or something. They're competent enough, But they could do what like they did for Smash and let Bandai do a majority of the work, and you get, the best Smash game. So it's possible. But either way, I'm gonna finish up with one thing that I've been thinking about for a long time, trying to find a way to like describe this, not to come off as elitist or anything. I was telling Retro this, and he was kind of laughing at me, but I've said this many times talking about Game Pass. I'm not out here looking to play the most games, for the least amount of money. Like, I'm just out here looking to play the best games that I can play. So I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm not talking about Metacritic. I'm not talking about anyone else's score. I'm talking about my personal verdict after I play a game. If I play a game and I'm not like, yeah, that was, that's an 8.5, that's a 9, that's a 9.5, that's almost a 10. Pretty much anything under like an 8 or an 8.5, that's not what I'm looking for. What I mean is I want to love a game. So if I play a game and I'm like, yeah, that was okay, then that's a fail. I selected the wrong game. I'm not looking to play an okay game. I'm looking to play a great game every single time. So I might miss out on a great game because I'm like, I don't know if it's worth the risk. That might, unless it's super cheap like Cyberpunk. I picked it up for $10. Who cares? If I don't love it, who cares? But when I pick up, like Forza Horizon 5 was announced, I'm like, all right, that should be a great game. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a great game. I want to play it, and I want it to be like, damn, was that the best insert genre right here game I've ever played? Or was that Sony's best game? Was that Nintendo's best game? Was that the best Metroid game? Was that the best racing game? Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to be saying when I play a game. So that comes at a cost. I'm not going to take a chance on one that I'm kind of 50-50 on, because I don't want to end up playing an average game. Like The Medium, played that via Game Pass. That's like a 6 out of 10, type game. I didn't play through the whole thing. If I had actually bought that game, I would have been very disappointed. But that's not what I'm looking for. I want The Medium to be a 9 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game. I want every game to be amazing, But if I play it and it's not, I consider it an L if it's just an okay game. Days Gone's it's right on the cusp for me. I had some good times, posted a lot of funny glitches and had a good laughs, but it's really not, in my opinion, a great game. Um, Luckily, I only paid $20 for it, so that takes a little bit of the bite off. But just kind of, I don't know how else to say it. I'm looking to play the best games that come out each year. That's what I'm looking to do. Whether you think it's the best game, it don't matter to me. Immortals is one of the best games last year, if not the best game I played, or my favorite game. It's got a 77 on PS4, I think, on Metacritic. The Switch version's like a 78. So obviously, that's what people thought. I think it's revisiting my game of the year from last year. It's going to be number one. I mean, I put 120 hours into it, and I just couldn't stop playing it. Absolutely loved the game. That's the type of games I'm looking for. Ghost of Tsushima, absolutely blown away. I did not expect to love that game that much. I don't remember what I even paid for it. I want to say like $35, something like that. I just loved it. Like, I don't know if I went back play it 10 years from now if I'm going to be like, what the hell was I thinking? I just really enjoyed the story, the setting, the combat, the mechanics. I just really enjoyed the game. That's the type of games I'm looking to play. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart doesn't look like that type of game, so I didn't buy it. Deathloop got pretty high scores, but I watched a critical breakdown of, how it's not as open-ended as they want you to believe, and they showed a lot of the things. I'm like, yeah, that's not the type of game I'm looking for. WarioWare or Wario, whatever the new WarioWare game's called. I played the demo. It's fun, but that's a game. If I had absolutely nothing else to play, yeah, that'd be fun to play. That to me is a budget title. It should be a budget price. So that's not what I'm looking for. Kana I was on the fence about it, and luckily it ended up being in that category. That really good to great game. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got some issues, but first time studio, I'll give them some slack. What's another game this year? Oddworld. Played the first 2 levels, couple hours. Glad I didn't have to buy it because that's not what I'm looking for. So again, this just kind of felt like I needed to say that. It really ties into my Game Pass feelings. I'm just not looking to play the most games possible. That's just not what I'm looking for. It just, A, I don't have the time. B, I would rather play one game and put 70 hours in it and can't stop playing it than play 10 games that I'm like, I can't wait to get through. I can't wait till the end. When's the next game? Like, one great game is worth 100 average games for me. So if I play 3 games in a year and it's Breath of the Wild and it's Immortals or Control or Resident Evil 2 remake, just 3 of those, that's a good year in gaming for me. Like Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Immortals, and Last of Us Part 2 last year. If that's the only 3 I played, I would have considered that a great year because that's 3 great games. Like that's how I look at it. If I only play 5 games, yeah, that's going to be my top 5. But if the 5th game I played was absolute trash, I probably won't even include it. So this year, it's kind of the weirdest year for me. I've played more old games than I have new games as far as beaten. So I played Days Gone. I played Ghost of Tsushima. I played the Octo expansion. Final Fantasy VII Remake. 2 of the Immortals DLCs. They were both like 10 to 15 hours. What else did I play? I'm about to play Hades, so that'll be another one. And I feel like the Horizon Forbidden Wilds. It's a DLC, but it's like 15 hours. That's a game for a lot of companies. And then the new games I played: Resident Evil 8, Bowser's Fury, Returnal, Dread, Kana. So I played 5. So, uh, it's just a few more old games than I usually play, and I've been enjoying everything. So, sum it up, I just really want to play great games, and I wish all games were great. It would suck because then I wouldn't be able to play all the great games, and I still know I'm missing out. I still know I'm skipping out on games that I'll probably like. Maybe someday I'll play them. Like Ghost of Tsushima, I waited close to a year, and turns out it's one of, if not the best Sony first party games I've ever played. Um, you know, we'll see when it all is said and done, but it just that's how it ended up. So I'm always happy when I love a game, but it is kind of what I'm looking for. And you could say, well, if you go in wanting to love it, it does help you maybe convince yourself you love it. I know that everybody's guilty of that. If you go in expecting it to be trash, your chances are you're going to find things that make it trash. Like that's true of human nature. But there's games where I'm just like, yeah, that looks pretty good. Let me try it, and I love it. And there's games where I say that, and they're garbage. Like I thought the Medium was going to be great, based on the gameplay and stuff, and turned out no, it's not very good. Like Returnal. I thought, man, the gameplay looks great. I don't know about the whole concept, the whole roguelike thing, and 68 hours later, the game's fucking phenomenal. So, it's game of the year contender for sure. And we'll see. I got 2 more games left. I got to finish Dread, and then I'm playing Forza Horizon and Halo Infinite. But let's just say it's gonna be tough competition for that top spot with 2 games, and then the rest is gonna be kind of distant third. But anyway, I think I'm out of things to say. I see just a few people just kept coming in and leaving. It's weird timing. I would love to just like be able to do juice opinions regularly and have my old audience viewership. I'm gonna be honest. I think those days are probably gone. I just don't have enough to say. People got sick of hearing me complain about Nintendo, and giving my thoughts on Nintendo. I don't really have much to say about Nintendo these days, other than when they release a good game, like Metroid Dread. I give them props, but other than that, I just really have been enjoying PS4. Now the PS5 third-party games have been like really good. I've felt like I mentioned Resident Evil 2 remake a minute ago. I didn't talk about that. I was talking about the 8th gen best Resident Evil game I ever played, Resident Evil 2 remake. I'm really looking forward to a Resident Evil 4 remake. I really hope they do that and they do it proper. If they can even come close to the Resident Evil 2 remake with a Resident Evil 4 remake, man, that's gonna be fucking amazing. Like there's just been so many like best. The 8th gen for me just has like so many like this is the best this game, this is the best that game, this is the best like I said, best Mario Kart game. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. I mean, 60 or how many million? 42 million combined. Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Still selling well. People love the game. We'll see what they can do with the sequel, but just so many great games. And if you don't love the 8th gen, you didn't love the 8th gen. I'm not going to argue with anybody over it. Doesn't mean that much to me if you didn't love it, but I just absolutely loved it. And it's still going. I mean, Elden Ring looks pretty phenomenal. You got Halo Infinite could be really good, and a bunch of other games are still coming to 8th gen next year. So it's just continuing to get games, and it started off slow, but it's really, I think it's going to go down. I think it's going to age well. The 8th gen is going to be looked at fondly. It's not going to be, we're going to forget the first 2 years, obviously, but anyway, that's all.